Welcome to the Winning Edge podcast, where we share focus, fueling, and faith-filled stories and strategies to give young athletes the tools they need to become the best version of themselves as athletes and individuals.
What you eat and how you think can transform your athletic performance and overall well-being. Whether you're an athlete, coach, or fitness enthusiast looking to gain that mental edge and optimize your health, this podcast is for you. We are your hosts. I'm Lindsay, former collegiate athlete, coach, educator, and educational coach for over 20 years, and a mom of 2 young athletes.
And I'm Stacy, registered dietitian nutritionist of over 18 years and a mom of 2 young athletes.
Today, our guest is Taryn Floyd. She is the acclaimed athletic director at Fort Dorchester High School in South Carolina and is widely recognized for her dynamic leadership and commitment to student-athlete success. Under her guidance, Fort Dorchester teams have achieved strong performances across multiple sports, including capturing the 2022 Lower State Class 5A Division I Championship runner-up in football and boys basketball. She is a testament to her ability to inspire competitive excellence and foster growth within her programs. Floyd's focus on player development has sent numerous student athletes to compete at the collegiate level, maintaining Fort Dorchester's reputation as a powerhouse in South Carolina athletics. Beyond athletics, Taryn Floyd's impact as an educator is equally impressive. She recently became the first ever recipient of the Rotary's Jim Atkinson's 12th Man Award, reflecting her dedication, character, and service within the educational and athletic communities. In 2015, she was the Windsor Hill Arts-Infused Elementary Teacher of the Year and Dorchester District 2 Teacher of the Year. Her action-based learning made a huge impact on her students. She was also the Region Coach of the Year in 2014, 15, and 16 as the head soccer coach. She is known for her unwavering patriot pride. Floyd brings a passion for holistic student development, integrating strong academic and emotional support with her athletic vision. Her multifaceted expertise ensures that student athletes under her leadership excel both on and off the field, making her a standout figure in high school athletics and education. In March of 2025, she earned her Athletics Administrator certification and is currently working on her Master's Athletic Administrator certification. Taryn, you are amazing, and I'm so glad to have you on the podcast today.
I'm just lucky to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You are so incredibly busy. So not only do you have your job as an athletic director for a huge school and program, you are also wrapped up in a whole world of sports because you have 2 student athletes yourself. So
Yes.
what's
And my
what it's
husband
like?
coaches as well. So our kind of what our life is like,
Yeah.
it's busy. So I have a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old. My 16-year-old is involved in she's our varsity captain here at Fort Dorchester High School for the girls soccer program. She's on our sports medicine training staff, and she also plays out of a travel soccer team out of Greenville, South Carolina, which is about 3.5 hours away from here. So we are out of state every weekend with her. And then my son plays football, he wrestles, and he plays soccer here for the high school. And my husband's the strength and conditioning coach and assistant football coach here at the high school. So our life is busy.
Mm-hmm.
We try and eat family dinner every night when everybody gets home. That's typically around 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night on an early night. But that is very important to us to sit around that table and talk about our day. And then we make sure we have breakfast in the morning before everybody heads out. So we are fortunate that our high school doesn't start till 9:30. So we can sleep in a little bit later in the morning, but we make sure that those 2 things, we're sitting around the table, just the 4 of us, because after that, it's just kind of, we're every which way.
I love that. Okay, so that's a really nice start time. I had no idea. I didn't realize high schools even started that late. That's amazing though, especially when you have the athletes that are playing so late.
It helps. Our teachers and our educators get here at 8, but the students have to be here by 9:30, which is very nice. So we can front load a lot of our meetings.
That's awesome. So your husband is the
Assistant football coach. He's the
assistant football
defensive
coach.
coordinator and the head strength and conditioning coach.
Okay. So you are a very sports-centered family for
We
sure.
are.
How did you end up in this role? What was your experience as an athlete that's led you to where you are right now?
So It's just the whole reason I always laugh because I am so academically focused, but I went to school so I could play soccer. That's kind of where I was. I went to actually a rival high school from where we are right now, and I wanted to play soccer. So I knew in order to play soccer, I had to get good grades. And so that was my motivation. I was very fortunate to have some great coaches that kind of supported me along the way and some awesome teachers who knew what my goal was. And so when I looked over on those sidelines, I'll never forget. We called her P. White, Miss Patty White. She was my English teacher. And she was on the sidelines taking pictures of me one day. And someone said, "Oh, who's your daughter on the team?" And I just remember overhearing it while I was on the field. And she pointed at me and said, "That one, number 7." And I wanted to be that person. My parents were also in the stands. I had very supportive family, but I also wanted to be able to be that person that I never miss a game. I'm at every single home event on this campus. And just in case there is someone who doesn't have someone in those stands, I wanted to be that person.
Of that. I think your heart for kids has always, been something that all of us that have known you looked up to and admired. Seeing everything that you've done in your career as an educator. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, before I even like go too far into this, tell us a little bit about the program that you were doing in your classroom when you became teacher of the year.
So I was an elementary PE teacher at an arts infused school. And so we did a lot of infusing of core curriculum into our dance classes, music classes, art classes. And as a PE teacher, I just thought I got really involved with action-based learning at a state level, attending a lot of their clinics. And I got certified in action-based learning, ABL. And I just thought how cool it is for when the body's in motion, the brain is in motion, and the two really need to get connected. And I just saw our kids just sitting in this one by one cell, what we used to call it, right? In
Uh-huh.
a desk. And I was not that type of student. I was a student that needed to kind of stand up in the back of the classroom. I was listening and I was being attentive. I wasn't a problem, but I could not sit. So I wanted to make sure that our student at that elementary school understood that it was okay. That was normal. Their bodies just needed to move. And so I worked with our kindergarten through 5th grade teachers, and they would come to me for their math, their science, their ELA. And I would make different stations around the room. They would be on the trampoline, the treadmill. We had balance boards. I dropped a punching bag down from the wall.
Uh-huh.
And we would put letters all over the punching bag, and that's how they would like work on their phonics. I had a climbing wall installed in my room. Kids just need to be able to be moving. And kids, I mean, you have young boys, right?
Yeah.
And I had young children at the time. I never wanted my kids to feel like they were a trouble just because they couldn't sit still.
Right.
And our behavior skyrocketed, like in the positive, right? So I had my 45 top red zone students came to me for the first hour of every school day, and we just exercised for an hour, listening to fun music, gave them hugs, told them I loved them. We didn't do the check-in, check-out system. I wanted to do away with that because if I was bad yesterday, I don't want to be reminded of it today. Like fresh start,
Right.
right? So we called it jump start. And that was to
Mhm.
jumpstart their day. And we didn't talk about what happened yesterday. We just talked about how great today was going to be. And it really did help the whole school climate and their behavior. Probably I love most about it is a lot of my jumpstart boys and girls are at my high school now.
Yeah.
And they're my athletes. And so whenever I had them from 4 to 12, I have them again from 14 to 18. And
Like
it's just
full
been such an
circle.
incredible experience to be able to see them grow and continue to just be awesome kids
Yeah.
and give back to that elementary school still.
I love it. And I think it goes to show too that kids aren't bad.
No.
It's just regular class setting. Sometimes it limits and restricts what needs to be there, which is movement and motion and having the kinesthetic learning as the source of how you're channeling your energy while you're in that
Yeah.
class.
I mean, I'm 40 years old. If I haven't exercised, I'm a bear. I'm not a good person. And, I've been with my husband now for 22 years. He looks at me all the time. He's like, "You need to go on a walk. You need to go on a jog today." And he's not being mean. He's just like, I can tell you haven't had your time to get out your energy. Right.
Yeah.
So,
I love it. You played soccer in college. So you went to school because you wanted to play soccer. And then that was what you did. You went and you played at Wingate University. You played soccer there. And when you were in college, did you know, like, I want to be a coach down the road? Or were you? unaware
Not
of
at
that.
all. No, I wanted to go more into like the sports orthopedic side, the more medical side of it, the rehab.
Hmm.
This just kind of happened because I started taking some classes at Wingate and thought it seemed like a pretty great, profession. I get
Yeah.
to go to work every day. I don't have to go to work every day. Every single time I've gone to work, it's been fun. It's been exciting. Every day is different whenever you're in education. Every day is different when you're in a classroom.
Hmm.
And I loved being able to move and be able to teach kids sports. And then the coaching aspect of it just kind of I always knew I was probably going to coach, especially coming back to my hometown, but
Hmm.
it was really neat to be able to come. And then whenever I started having children of my own, having them be able to be involved in that was really neat because they grew up with all of these older sisters and brothers that but still to this day we have alumni dinner at my house twice a year, and just being able to see them continue to grow, and now my kids are taller than them. It's just so funny,
Yeah,
but
you're gonna need.
it just kind of all worked out, and it was something that was very important to my husband and I.
Oh, that's amazing. Getting into the position you're in now, because you were a coach, coach of the year for 3 years in a row. How did you transition from being a head coach into the AD spot?
So in 2020, I actually had to stop coaching because I became an administrator. In my district, you had to be an administrator in order to be an athletic director. And I needed that admin experience. So I went back to school and I got my admin degree. And I became an administrator at elementary school. And then spent 2 years at the middle school. So I kind of left coaching for 3 years before this position opened up. But the being athletic director at Fort Dorchester High School was always my goal when I went back to school in 2016, I think. It
Hmm.
was so that one day I could be the AD here. I definitely needed that admin experience. It has helped me a lot in this position because I am the administrator over 22 programs, and most of my programs have varsity, junior varsity, and B team, as well as supporting our middle schools. So having that admin experience was definitely critical, I think, because you don't know what you don't know. And as a coach, I thought I knew a lot and it was good, definitely good experience. But having that admin side is, I would say, very important.
Yeah, definitely having the different experiences. It's like all that information, all the experiences stack and layer to help you become even stronger at the position that you're wanting to go into. Uh, what do you think is something that has changed in the coaching world, even from the time when you were a head coach back in, 2015? What has it like evolved into over the last 10 years?
So I stopped coaching only 5 years ago, and I want to say it has changed dramatically since then. And I tell my coaches that whenever I meet with them, it is not the same. It is not the same gig as 5 years ago, even. I don't know if, because you're in Texas, I don't know if it's different and you guys have seen the same, but transfers have become a huge deal right now. Which is like my husband and I have been a part of Fort Dorchester since 2008, and we're very loyal to this school and we're very loyal to this district. That has been a big change for me to see over the last little bit. It's if you're not happy, you leave. And it's no longer if you're not successful, how do I help make it successful? How do I work harder in the gym? How do I work harder in the weight room? How do I get that extra training? How do we become more of a cohesive family unit as a team to make our
Right.
program stronger? It's no, that school has a better record, so I'm just going to go there.
Right.
And I don't know. I'm sure there's good parts to that and there's bad parts to that. And I understand sometimes, but I think we're kind of getting away from the how do I make this program stronger? And we're
Yep.
going more into I hate to even taking the easier road of going to something that I don't necessarily have to help build that foundation on. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that I know we do see that here in Texas too. I think we're seeing that everywhere. Honestly, the college transfer portal is a prime example of that. You can leave. There's no more like you're proud to be a bulldog, proud to be a patriot, right? It's like that looks better for me. I'm going to take that because that's the easier route.
Right.
Or I'm better there. It's instead of like digging in deep and having like, no, I'm proud of this school. I'm proud of this community I've been a part of. It does seem like it's very like a throwaway, like, oh, moving on.
Yeah.
Look, not there. And it's very disheartening. I think,
It's hard. It is
yeah,
very hard because we pour so much. Like, these kids are my family.
yeah,
I mean, I have 597 children. I love these kids. I love their families. And it is kind of heartbreaking. We've gone through some heartbreaking conversations whenever I have kids that go, and, I support them. I will always go watch their games no matter what colors they wear across their chest. I tell them all that. I tell them all
yeah,
the time, but my kids have been zoned to come to this school since birth. There is no option. Like, they have never given it another thought. Where are you going to go to high school? Because my kids can go anywhere, right?
right,
One of them
right,
drives. She can go anywhere she wants, but there's never been an option for her. She
yeah,
wants to come here because this is where she's been zoned for since she was a baby.
yeah.
And that's kind of lost. And that's been a hard thing for me to wrap my head around, right? It's
Yeah,
hard.
and that is hard, especially when like, you've coached kids or you taught them when they were in elementary school and these families and you're like, "Oh, I can't wait till they get up here." And then some of them don't. They go other
Yeah.
places, and I think that's really hard. I know even small towns face that now because they can go to a different town. They don't have to go to the town they've been born and raised in necessarily or where they're zoned to. So I do think that that's something that's really heartbreaking for all of us that are older that are the former athletes, even if we aren't coaching or a part of the school, it's like, oh man, you were so proud to, show up to the games and be a part of that experience. And now it's not as ingrained and rooted in these kids that we have today. So I do think that that's such a good thing to bring up. That is a really hard part, I think, for the coaching staff. How do you help your coaches with that? Like, how do you support them in that process?
So I mean, we've gone through a little bit of transition here, but there's a good group of us that have been here for a while. And so I always say, as much as my kids have grown up at Fort, Bobby, my husband, and I have grown up at Fort. We started coaching here when we were in our early 20s. And so a lot of
Mhm.
our coaching staff has kind of grown up alongside us. We have a really great group. This is our family. So we have complaining sessions, but we also have celebrations, and we love on each other and we support each other. We go through it together. And I think that's, no matter what position you're in, I think it's so important just to kind of everybody realize that nobody's more important than the next person. And we're all in it together. We do Christmas parties here every holiday season, and we try and get together at other people. So if there's a volleyball match, you'll typically always see my cheer and my wrestling coaches in there supporting their colleagues. And I think as long as we just keep that mindset and we're just in it for the right purpose, we're in it for each other and we're in it for the kids. That's kind of how we go around it.
That's really good advice too for other coaches listening in. I want to shift a little bit just because communication with athletes and parents is so important. And in this age of technology where, we've kind of grown up with the technology as it's been developed, right? But you have to be able to communicate effectively with parents and athletes all the time. How do you help coaches communicate with parents, with athletes in a way that is appropriate and effective?
So it's hard, and I'm kind of in the middle of it right now, to be honest. So I can talk you through that. I'm trying to find the best way. We just did a whole revamp of our website over the summer. And so I really do try and push everybody to our website. We are
Mm.
growing up in the age of apps, right? So we do use SportsU for a lot of our communication tools. I'm on all of my team's little communication tools so I can see what's getting put out. But I do try and tell people, go to the website. Please go to the website if you need other information. I don't necessarily want to always rely on Instagram and Facebook because not everybody has that. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at with that. A lot of parents are like, well, I didn't see it on social media. No, it's on the website. Please always go to the website because my social media, we do love it. We do love it to do shout outs for our students and to do all the positive things and do those updates. But we do try and push everybody to the website. When I coach, and this is how I encourage a lot of my teams to do it, whether or not it's the right thing. I make mistakes all the time. But I always relied on my captains, right? So I never really conversed a lot with my parents. I was
Mhm.
there for the kids. And so my captains were my main source of getting that information out. And then I always had like one parent that would send a weekly email. So I always encourage my my coaches, don't necessarily feel like you have to always be the communicator, right? But as long as
Yeah.
you designate someone on either your staff, a trusted parent, and a student that's going to get that information out, take the feelings out of it and just make sure that communication is just very clear and concise. I think that's very important. I do have some awesome co ops and student volunteers that work for me every day, and they are my social media people. I don't, not that I don't have time for it, if I'm being real honest.
Yeah.
But I have some great students that are awesome. Um, that I'm looking at one right now that they're plugging away on my social media at all times. And so typically, if you're seeing something coming from Ford Athletics, it's coming from some of my students who are much more tech savvy than me.
That's great too. And it's good experience for them. So,
Right.
a win win. Let's talk about social media for a minute because part of understanding today's world is knowing what our kids are going through as student athletes. What do you, as an AD, recommend or tell your student athletes about social media?
I normally say don't have it, but that's just not going to happen, right? I
Right.
always say clean it up. Clean it up. If you're going to if you want me to see it, right? I always say, do you want me to see it?
Hmm.
Because a lot of the times I'm like, do you want your parents and grandparents? They're like, oh, they don't care. So do you want me to see it? Do you want your prospective boss to see it? Do you want your college coach to see it? We have a lot of conversations about that, about cleaning up your social media, about what needs to be on your handle, about what your name needs to be. What do you need to be posting? What does the music attached to your post need to have in it? Because that'll take you out of the recruitment game real quick. And I always say, I'm not I don't do this to get these kids into college. We do it so they can enjoy their high school experience. But if they want the opportunity to go to college, social media is one of the top killers of that. And so I have a lot of those hands-on conversations. I am extremely fortunate that I've known a lot of these kids for a very long time. And my kids are also ingrained, right? My personal children. So I see it all. And so we have some of those difficult one-on-one conversations where I'll just call him into my office real quick. I'll say, saw the post yesterday. Really good. Great highlights. Clean up your music. Let's change it right here. Okay. Because the third word out of that on that social media made my eyes pop and I no longer saw your highlight film. I didn't. Right. So
Yeah.
it's just it's just being present, being involved, and not being afraid of having those conversations. And I'm not ever going to come down hard on a kid for doing that because you don't know what you don't know, right? I'm
No.
so glad I didn't have social media whenever I was growing up,
Oh,
but we just
goodness.
got to teach them, right? And we have to teach them in a positive way so that they're not afraid to come then and ask you, "Hey, does this look okay?"
Yeah.
Well, it does look good, but let's clean up this and let's change that grammatical error, right?
And I
So it's
think
just
that's
about being present.
for the kids because, I think back to my high school experience. I had lunch in my athletic director's office every day, my senior year, and about half of my junior year. Second half of junior year, I started going into Coach Longo's office and I had lunch there every day with him. And it wasn't necessarily because I didn't want to, go have lunch with friends. It was because he was like a mentor to me. He was my sounding board. He knew what I wanted to happen. He knew I wanted to play in college. He would check in with me, my grades, tell me about what his job is. I remember him trying to convince me I should be an athletic director one day. And I was like, I don't really know if that's something I want to do. But he would be, shocked if he knew I was an educator right now. But, I think that your role is so vital for student athletes, especially those who want to go on and pursue sports in college or beyond. So I love that you have those, sometimes difficult conversations with them, but it's true. And kids don't necessarily pick up or think about, oh man, the third word in that song is really inappropriate. I shouldn't have
Right.
that. So you giving them the perspective of like, I stopped looking at that highlight because now I'm just hearing that, that's what they need. So, yep, yep. How do y'all help and support like the mental and emotional well-being of student athletes?
So I loved this question whenever I saw it coming up. Because it's just about having relationships with your kids. And so I do regular coaching meetings with my coaches. We do big
Mhm.
groups and then we do it by sport. And I'm like, guys, you're on the front lines too. So it takes all of us, right? It takes all of us. It's like a little trickle down effect. I have an amazing athletic secretary. I have an amazing guidance department.
Mhm.
And they know me, I know them. And I'm like, guys, if you see any of my babies, you got to let me know. I am at almost every single practice of all of my teams. I do at least a walkthrough every day. I'm at every single home event. I have, just like your AD, my room is packed every single lunch, packed with kids. You have
Mhm.
to have the relationships with your kids. You have to know what their facial expressions look like. You have to know what their mannerisms look like. You have to know how they warm up, how they practice, how do they prepare for a game? What do they eat? What do they drink? What do they do? How does their grades look? I had a kid last spring, normally straight A student. I pull grades every 2 weeks from all of my athletes, and I look every single athlete up every 2 weeks and look at their grades. His grades started slipping. Went and had the conversation. Well, it turns out something was happening outside of school. You have to know your kids because you are with them for so much that you see so many different aspects of them. I feel very fortunate that my kids allow me to see that type, like who they are as people, so that we can have those difficult conversations again. I'm quick to say, hey, I see you're warming up right now. Being a practice, I'm going to be in my office. We don't get done until 8. I'll be there. Stop by my
Mhm.
office around 8. Let's just chat. You're not in trouble. I just see something might be going on. And then we just kind of figure
Yeah.
it out, right? They want to tell you, they do. And they need people that they're going to trust that's just going to try and figure it out like with them. I don't ever try and offer advice, but it's just you need to be a sounding board for some of these kids. Being a kid in 2025, freaking hard.
So
I am
hard.
so fortunate that I did not grow up in
Yeah.
this where there is never downtime for these kids. If
No.
parents don't monitor their phones and they don't monitor their downtime, they are never unplugged.
No.
So I walked into weightlifting this morning. I had a meeting off campus. So I walked in around 10 and I looked at a kid and I go, they're in the middle of doing squats. And I go, what's wrong? I go, nothing. I said, no, really, what's wrong? Like, oh, well, my head's kind of hurting and I missed breakfast this morning because I knew my kids, right? And so I was like, all right, there's a honey bun in my office. Go grab it after practice and grab a Gatorade right after weightlifting because you look like you're sick. You just have to know what their facial expressions are. And if you're not in it to take time to get to know your kids, get out of this job.
Yeah. And I think, you see kids and educators, coaches more than educators. Educators in high school, you get your kids for 40 minutes, 55 minutes, and then they're out. But knowing how to read your students or your student athletes because you're with them so much time. You're with them more than a lot of times their parents even see them,
Right.
because they're going to school, then they're going to practice, their games. They've got outside practices for other teams that they're on. And so then they get home and it's homework, eat dinner, shower, bed. It's just the school year is a lot and we are so fast paced as a society, and you're right, our kids do not have downtime. One of the things we had talked about on our mindset podcast, it was like intrinsic motivation, right? Just keeping kids motivated without some type of reward or extrinsic prize or motivation. Like,
Uh-huh.
how do you tap into that? But they're always so locked into everything else going on and everybody else's lives that they're not always just focused on what's happening within themselves. And so, yeah, taking a phone up, shutting things off from school and having time away at home to escape that is really important.
I think it's crazy. I see it a lot with my own personal children because they have my phone that I loan them every day, right? Those are not their phones. Those are my phones that they're able to use because I pay for them. So every night they
Hmm.
turn my phone back into me and I go through it every single night. I go through
Yep.
everything that they've done that day. They're 14 and 16. They don't have privacy. They're in my home. And it is crazy to me. Anytime I take because I take them randomly through on the weekends and stuff when I'm home, within 30 minutes, the majority of the time, my kids are passed out and asleep.
Yeah.
If I take their phones they will nap at 14 and 16 years old.
Yeah.
It is wild to me.
But it makes you think if you never took the phones up from them,
Yeah.
how tired are they? And it's just keeping
Yeah.
them, like they need that rest and they need to disassociate from all the things going on with friends, with school, with sports. They need that time. Yeah, it is crazy. I take up August's phone. I take it up every night. I will go through it randomly. He knows. He'll be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Going through your whole phone."
Uh-huh.
And I tell him all the time, like, you are not in control of this. Like, you're a
No.
kid. I'm gonna go through all your things. You have zero privacy in this house. So we're on
So
the
their
same page
friends,
with
every once in a while, I'll be going through their text messages and I'll be like, hi, Miss Taryn, like in the middle of
yeah,
their text string because they know I'm going to read it. I'm like, yep.
yeah. We had a FaceTime call. I had his phone. I was going through it, and there was a FaceTime call, and it was 8:30 at night, and I just, didn't accept it. I hit the end button on it. And then after the third time I picked up, I was like, "Hi, this is his mom. It's after 8 at night. He doesn't have his phone past 7:30, blah, blah, blah." But just the kid's reaction was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "It's okay." But
Yeah.
like all these phones, the thing will light up late at night. Yeah. The phones, the cell phones, social media, all of that, I think is really something that, you see as an AD dealing with all of your 500 plus athletes. That's some good advice for parents. So if parents heard that, check your baby's phones, take them
Check your
up.
phone. Yeah, I have my parent meetings all the time, like as big groups, and then we have our NCAA nights that we might cover later. But I tell my parents all the time, check your phones. They're your phones.
Yeah. Let let's talk about that then. Let's talk about like how because you're always staying current on everything that's going on in the coaching world and everything
Right.
that you need or to your coaches. How do you help parents stay current? Because there is so much that has changed since their age group, if they were college athletes or if they weren't at all. I mean, how do you keep them up to date on everything that they need to know?
So again, present. So they see me all the time. Anybody who wants it has my cell phone. I put it out there for everybody to have. Call me, text me. I would love to meet with you. Right. I have every sports season. So fall, winter, spring, I have an all parent meeting where I have every parent in the auditorium and I kind of give them my spiel about who I am, what my purpose is and what our athletic purpose is before we do our little individual breakout rooms for all the individual sports. So I do a lot of updates there. We have our student parent handbook that's live on our website. Then twice a year, so every September and every January, I do a NCAA eligibility night. And that's when I do all of my updates from what is trickling down in the world of athletics if you want to go to the next level. So not only do we do that, but if parents can't make it there, because I understand people work different shifts, right? I will meet one-on-one with my parents and we go over the presentation together. So I basically just say my door is open at all times. If you want to know something, if I don't know it, I'm going to figure it out. But just having those big parent meetings, those opportunities to have that discussion, and then pushing that out as much as I possibly can.
I love that. Would you say the role of the athletic director should be in helping athletes through the recruiting process?
So I am a big I will match your energy type person. I like to put and I said that's my family motto, so I bring it here because this is my family too, right? I will match your energy. I will support you however I can. It is crazy to me the amount of kids that I meet with individually, parents I meet with individually, and obviously my whole groups that
Yeah.
at the end of that meeting, I say, all right, these are your next steps. These are your next steps. Go do them and then come back to me. I would say maybe 1% do it
And
because
that's the one
we have to, yeah, we
that
have
they're
to
going to,
match their energy because if we do it for it, and I tell parents, do not do this for your kid. If we do it for them, we are failing them in college. They have got to want it because college is
yeah,
hard. Being a college athlete is hard.
way.
So if we're doing it for them now, they are going to fail and they're going to come home after their first semester, even if they even make it to college, right? So these kids have got to be reaching out. These kids have got to be getting their grades. These kids have got to be emailing them. And I always
Mhm.
tell people, especially right now, I'm walking the walk. I'm not just talking the talk. My daughter is trying to actively get recruited right now. She goes on visits. She talks to coaches. But listen to what I just said. She goes on visits. She speaks to coaches. She sends emails. Since Friday, she's sent close to 100 emails to coaches. She has personalized, written 100 different people. I didn't do that. I didn't even know she did it until today, whenever I saw some of them getting responses. So that she like these kids have got to do it. I am there to guide them. I give them the framework. I will help them reach out. I will help them fill out those college questionnaires. I will help them compose an email, but then they have to send it. And the
Yep.
amount of people that won't, it's about that 1%, 2%. And we know that's that 1%, 2% that go play at college level.
That's right. That's the difference. We talk in our podcast and in our book, we've brought up how like you have to want it more than the next person. Like you have to be the driving force as the athlete. Your parents can't do it for you, your coaches can't do it for you. You have to want it more than anybody. And I think that what you just said, it's money in the bank. She wants it more than you want it for her. As
Yep.
parents, that we want to see our kids be successful. We want better for them than we had for ourselves. But at the end of the day, they're in charge of who they are and what they want. And so they have to be in the driver's seat.
I mean, clear, because also coaches know when it's a student reaching out or if it's a parent reaching out. It's
Oh,
very
for
clear. And these kids, they've got to want to put in the work, because if they think it's hard now, they don't even know. But
no,
again, I lay the framework for them. I will help them. I will meet every single day and help them, but I will not do it for them. And so I hear a lot of the times that AD or those coaches, they're not getting my kid recruited. And it just kind of lights something up in front. And I go, well, what have you done? What have
right.
you done? Did you even meet with them to ask
Mm,
how they can help? Like, what level of support? Because if we're waiting for someone, it's just like in life, right?
mhm.
And you're a very strong, independent woman. I'm a strong, independent woman. If I waited for someone else to do things for me, it would never get done. So that's kind of how I try and teach my kids, right? Like my athletes, my personal children, you've got to grab your life and take it and do whatever you want with it. But it's up
Yep.
to you,
Yep. We had a younger coach on, a hockey coach from Connecticut last week, Nick, and he was saying he's a coach. He's the high school varsity hockey coach, but he is not a teacher, not an educator. He works outside of that, and his boss always says to him, like, "What sport you think they play, Nick?" Because athletes just have a different drive, and college athletes have a very, very intense drive because it is
right?
such a hard road to go down. And it's all on you. It's all on you as the athlete. So I love it. I think that you saying, like, I will sit down and I will help you figure out what that email looks like, and then that's yours. Then it's on you to finish it, finalize it, compose it, differentiate it for different colleges you're applying to and send it out. Like, yep, passing the baton. So
Match
I
their
love
energy. If I could just coin that, match their energy, moms and dads. I tell my
it.
kids all the time, I will do my personal children. I will financially fund you. I will drive you anywhere. I will give you your equipment. I will help support you. I'll buy you the computer that you send the emails. I will do whatever I can to give you the groundwork, but the rest is on you.
Absolutely. I'm going to shift. There's a couple other questions I want to ask you. I could
Yeah.
talk to you all day. But I do want to just talk to you about what you notice as burnout for athletes. In the podcast questions I had sent you, I was like, "Oh, burnout for coaches." But I really do want to focus on the athlete part because we do push our athletes, I think, harder today than we did 20 years ago, right? Very much so. Everything starts younger, very competitive. What signs do you look for burnout in athletes, and how do you address them?
What signs do I look for? Again, I think you would just focus on knowing your kids. You start hearing the different ways that they describe practice. You see how they describe their wins and their losses. Most importantly, their wins. If getting that win isn't exciting and just exhilarating for them, or they're like, yeah, I won last night, that's a big red flag for me. Whether it was 70 nothing or 14-13, right?
Mhm.
How they describe their losses is also a big one. Yeah, we lost. Yeah, sometimes you can just, like, especially if you're not on like a hugely successful team, like a loss is a loss. What's their tone? Why do they say it? That's big. Are they excited about going to practices? Are they excited about some new gear that they got? Again, it's just knowing your kids. If they're like, oh yeah, we got a hoodie last week, or oh, I have to go to practice. Now, I understand that to a point. Nobody really wants to go to practice every day, right? But is it continual? And then if it is continual, I meet with my coaches. Hey, like, I'm not saying every day has to be a flippin' party, but why don't we try and spice some things up today and make
Right.
today's practice just a little different, right? Why don't we put some music on while we're practicing? Our football team, they did like a players, like Bobby played recently. And like, if our coaches really get involved, he went up and blocked a punt and took it straight to the face by one of our kickers, Eric. But Eric was talking about it for like 3 days, right? Like, it just, that kind of put some little fire into him. I went and played volleyball with our varsity a few weeks ago, just trying to make the seasons are long, right? But
Yeah.
as coaches, we have to try and help our student athletes not get burnt out. We have to make it, why do they do it? Remember your why. It's so important as adults. But it's important to teach these kids their why. Do they
Yes.
do it because they love each other? That's great. Then at the end of practice, how about everybody bring in $2 and we'll have some pizza on the way out?
Yeah.
Just that kind of thing. I encourage all of my athletic teams during their season, because if you're in season, I let you get in free to the other in season sports. So I always
Nice.
say, all right, well, after football practice, why don't we go have a little gathering during the volleyball game today?
Yeah.
How about after our cross country meet, why don't we go and cheer on, um, our tennis team today? So it's just, again, just showing them high school sports is so cool like that, because you're playing for your community, that let's use what we have. It's free. We're all right here. So let's remember
Yeah.
their why. They why because you want to play for your friends. I have a lot of school games. So we'll do a faculty volleyball game. So our faculty will play against our volleyball team. And that kind of sparks their joy, right? We're almost through season. It's been kind of rough, but then they get to go play in front of their student body on a packed gym, right? Like, we got to do stuff like that makes kids have fun.
Yeah. And, get to have fun playing against some of those teachers that, they've sat in their class.
Spike on
And
your
so
history teacher, right? Like, who doesn't want to do that?
right. It is. It is. It's about, when you're in the rut and you're kind of stuck, and they are long seasons, and it's draining, and then you're a student on top of it. And so, yes, remembering your why, I think, is so important, and remembering why you fell in love with your sport. Like, why are you doing this? What brings you joy? I think that's so important. Great answer. The last thing I want to ask you is, and this one, I know it's kind of hard because there's so many moments, but what has
Oh,
been one of your most powerful or memorable moments as a coach or AD?
so I won't be able to pick just one. I'm going to say
I
this
know.
is like a first full circle moment for me. Okay. And
Yeah.
this job was a dream of mine. Period. Every
Yes.
day is kind of a new opportunity where I can give back to this community. I could get emotional just think about it. This community has raised my husband and I. It has raised my children. Um, I get to come to work every day to give back to this North Charleston community and to this Fort family that just means so much to my little Floyd family. I've had these kids since elementary school. I've been and think I told you a few weeks ago when we spoke, I wouldn't necessarily want to be athletic director anywhere else, because
Yeah.
it wouldn't be in my bones like it is here. So my most memorable moment is just this job, these kids, this family, this community, and the fact that I also get to come to work every day for 4 years with my daughter, for 4 years with my son. And I get those moments when they're in high school, when most kids kind of don't want to be around their parents, and mine eat lunch in my office every day with all of their friends. And I get to be a part of their friends' lives, and their friends become like my family.
Yeah.
So it's just all encompassing. I know I can't just necessarily name one moment, but every moment I get a hug. Every moment I get to see these kids. This has just been the dream.
I love it. It's beautiful. Honestly, I can't think of a better role for you to have. Having known you when you were a college athlete and being friends with you when we were younger, I think that this is absolutely perfect, the position that you're in, and getting to do this and having your husband and the kids all be there. It's so beautiful to watch from the outside. So
Thanks.
I
While
am
we've been talking, Bobby's picked his head into my office like 3 times to see if, so I'm sure he wants to come say hey to you. But yeah, like just that type of thing. It's just been funny.
Yeah.
He keeps popping in.
Oh
But
my
yeah,
gosh. Yeah, I think this is just an incredible role for you. Fort is so lucky to have you as their AD. I'm going to want to check back in and have you on again just to pick your brain about some more things that, we've been discussing at SPAN. Thank you for coming on today and
thank
sharing
you
all
for having me. No, it's always
that.
so good to see you.
Yeah, and I'll talk to you soon. But again, thank you, because I think this is something that a lot of listeners, parents, and with some of your advice, coaches, I think a lot of people can take some good notes from this episode. So thank you, Taryn.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Stay tuned for future podcasts where we will bring on exciting guests in the sports world, highlight spotlight coaches, athletic directors, former and current collegiate and professional sports players, sports dietitians, psychologists, and more. What you eat and how you think can transform your athletic performance and overall well-being. Whether you're an athlete, coach, or fitness enthusiast looking to gain that mental edge and optimize your health, this podcast is for you.
Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media channels for more exclusive content on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and X at @span_athletics.
Until next time, stay faithful, stay fueled, and remain focused on your goals.